Who's ready to talk Trey Lance today and this morning and for quite a bit? And who's ready for some Trey Lance questions to be answered? Get them ready because I'm about to talk about the 49ers rookie quarterback who's really good at driving clicks. So I want to get in on the party. I want to talk about number 5. No, I mean, I've been talking about him for a year. It's crazy. It's December 30th now. So we're coming up on the anniversary of the start of the 2021 offseason, which is the 2021 offseason that gave the 49ers Trey Lance. Well, now they may really need him because Jimmy Garoppolo was not able to practice on Wednesday due to the torn ligament in his thumb. We'll see if Garoppolo can practice on Thursday, but I've maintained here throughout the week that I think it's very likely that Trey Lance starts against the Houston Texans because one of our overarching conditions is the Texans aren't good. So why throw an injury-compromised Jimmy Garoppolo out there if you can beat the Texans with your backup quarterback? And I'm sorry, if the 49ers can't beat the Texans with Trey Lance, I would seriously question their decision to invest 3 first-round picks in this guy, especially during a win now year. The 49ers are trying to have their cake and eat it too. The plan may still work, but it feels that we're at a real hinge point in the termination of that plan because if you're trying to have your cake and eat it too, you need a short-term and a long-term return on your investment. And the short-term return on investment may actually be needed this weekend with Jimmy Garoppolo hurt. There's no way that Garoppolo is going to be fully healthy. So that's why I predict that Lance will start. But I want to make this a bigger picture conversation about Trey Lance because the Trey Lance that we saw start in week 5 played with some real heart. And I'm sure you guys remember the images. And if you don't remember the images, then I might as well put them up right now. But this was the game against the Cardinals. The 49ers did lose. But you remember that. Trey Lance, after the play, trying to scrap and claw for more yardage without his helmet on. And it's just so cool to me. I made the immediate parallel to this, that Steve Young in the preseason, the year after he won a Super Bowl. So it was the 95 preseason, running without his helmet on against the San Diego Chargers, not the Los Angeles Chargers, the San Diego Chargers. So it's indisputable. Trey played with a ton of heart against the Arizona Cardinals during the 49ers loss in week 5. But this is also true. The game plan Kyle Shanahan called for Trey Lance in week 5 was not a sustainable one. It was not Shanahan's typical offense, especially the one that he's been running with the 49ers here over the past few years. Shanahan called a run-heavy attack that was like a college-style offense for Trey Lance. And then on top of that, Lance bailed out of the pocket on several drop-back passing situations. In all, Trey Lance ran the football 16 times against the Arizona Cardinals. This is a 21-year-old kid who had not really seen any football action whatsoever in over a year. Yeah, he played against the Seahawks in that second half. He saw some preseason play, obviously, for the 49ers. But remember, Lance's entire 2020 season, minus one game played in like February or March, was wiped away. So he didn't play that year. And then he was thrust into training camp with the 49ers, and then he was thrust into the start against Arizona. So Kyle Shanahan, based on what he knew from Trey in practice, based on his upfront view to Trey Lance's development, determined that he wasn't going to be able to execute a pocket-style attack to deliver a big victory for the 49ers because that was against the division-leading Cardinals at the time, who were undefeated back in October. So Kyle Shanahan went to plan B, and plan B was a North Dakota State-like college offense with a lot of read option, a lot of usage of Trey Lance's athleticism. The motivation is clear. Kyle Shanahan wanted to give his team the best chance to win that game, and the best chance to win that particular game, which was a rather large one for the 49ers, was to run Trey Lance a lot. And for Trey, not yet comfortable scanning the field, seeing the field from the pocket, probably the best path to success was tucking the ball and running a lot. But that was only the best path to success in week 5. When you talk about sustainability in the NFL, you can't be running 16 times a game with any quarterback, much less a 21-year-old facing grown NFL men for essentially the first time. So it's no surprise that Trey Lance was hurt in week 5. But when I say you can understand the motivation for the 49ers playing that way, it was because they were trying to win. Didn't work out. They lost to the Cardinals. Lance went back to the bench. Jimmy Garoppolo took back over. And we haven't seen Trey since week 5 in a game situation. So because of that, 49ers fans must now hope that Trey Lance has developed enough as a passer in the 3 months since to earn Kyle Shanahan's play calling trust. That is absolutely imperative, especially if Garoppolo misses extended time. I think the 49ers can beat the Texans with Lance, with Jimmy Garoppolo, with Nate Sudfeld, with Tyler Bray, the Kingsburg guy who they just signed to the practice squad. All of the above, I think the 49ers should be able to beat the Houston Texans. If they can't, I question their ability to be a playoff team because the Texans are 4-11. They're not good. I don't care who they beat last week. It was the Chargers, but it was the Chargers minus Joey Bosa. Every NFL team's going to win a few. But the 49ers, they're up against it right now. I went through the playoff scenarios in the video earlier this week. Subscribe to the channel. You can watch that. Obviously, the chances for the 49ers improved with the Saints loss, but they're still in a tough spot. I mean, Kyle Shanahan said every single game for us from here on out is a playoff game. Our playoffs start now. That's true. So with so much on the line, if a team like the 49ers, who are a top 10 efficiency team, who are playing decent defense now, who generally have played good offense this year, if they can't step up and beat the Houston Texans, who are a bottom barrel NFL team at home, well, then you have to question much larger things. So Trey Lance, he needs to be ready for this job. And if he's going to be needed for an extended period of time after that, so we're talking Rams in week 18 and then potentially the playoffs after that, he's going to have to be able to execute a sustainable formula of winning that just was not there in week 5. He's going to have to be able to deliver from the pocket. And along those lines, I think that Fred Warner's comments about Trey Lance's development are especially promising. I posted these yesterday, so let's go to my Twitter. Let's scroll down to, by the way, LinkedIn recommended that I connect with Joe Montana yesterday. I appreciated that. We're not going to talk about that today, though. We're going to look at this, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for all of you so you could read along with me. These are Fred Warner's comments on Trey Lance. I think his confidence has continued to grow and grow. I think early on in the season, working with a scout team, he was playing things a little safer, using his legs a lot to run. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? That sounds like the week 5 game against Arizona. He didn't want to throw an interception. So I pulled him to the side and said, look, Trey, first of all, we weren't getting the work we needed on the field, and that's why you saw what I took to mean the defense struggle on game day. I think Fred Warner said that's why you saw that on game day. Well, he was frustrated with Trey Lance because he was running all the time and he wasn't passing, and the defense wasn't getting the practice it needs against the scout team. Then Warner continued, also for his sake, listen, this is your opportunity to take chances and develop that part of your game. Take a chance. Try and see, can you fit the ball into tight spaces? Can you throw on the run and complete a pass down the field? After that conversation started, he started to just roll. You start seeing these crazy plays where he's just getting it right over guys' fingertips, just tossing the ball downfield, making the right plays. It's just a confidence thing. You grow every year, especially as a rookie, every single day, just pushing the limits. I think that's what we've seen out of him. First things first, that is a direct refutation of those people who think that you can't grow during practice. You absolutely can grow on the scout team, especially as a rookie quarterback who came into the NFL with 318 career throws at the FCS level. During his scout team work, Trey Lance is getting to emulate pocket passers one week like Kirk Cousins for the Vikings and scramblers the other week like Russell Wilson from the Seahawks, depending on who the 49ers are playing next, because it's his job to emulate the opponent quarterback for the 49ers starting defense. So there's actually tremendous growth potential in what Trey Lance is getting to do on the scout team on a week-by-week basis. And it's been 11 weeks since we last saw him. But these Warner comments, when you read them, and I could pop them back up right here, I think are phenomenal because I don't think Fred Warner is blowing smoke because he goes out and criticizes Trey Lance at the start. You don't, blow smoke and pump a guy up, falsely, by actually starting it with criticism. I think he's being honest here, and Fred is generally a straight shooter, but he said Trey wasn't getting the job done on the scout team early in the season. So he pulled him aside, and you talk about it's a temptation for so many quarterbacks who are athletic to just use their legs to bail themselves out. So many guys, including this one right here. One of the greats in 49ers history. This is Steve Young, number 49 on our NFL 100 list. I wrote a piece about Steve Young before the season that ended up being tremendously relevant to Trey Lance's development. But Steve Young had these flashes of amazing athleticism, including the Vikings run. His time in Tampa Bay also had flashes, and Bill Walsh saw it. But it would be excellence from the pocket that would be necessary for Young to successfully follow Joe Montana as the 49ers starter. And his eventual blossoming in that regard would lead to a remarkable extension of the 49ers dynasty into the 1990s. Brent Jones told me this for the story. Can you really make a guy whose instinct is to run into a pocket passer? He had to trust his line, his footwork, and he did it. He accomplished it, and it took a lot of discipline on his part. And that applies to this guy. That applies to Trey Lance. It's going to take discipline for him to become a quality, consistent pocket passer in the National Football League. In week 5, Kyle Shanahan didn't have Trey Lance developed yet to that point. But we're now 3 months down the road. And based on what Fred Warner said, based on the fact that Trey Lance is now actually sitting back in the pocket, trying to deliver passes into tight windows, taking chances with his arms, not just relying on his arm to bail him out. Based on that, Trey Lance has made some progress. And you know what? We're really going to see how much progress he's made in Kyle Shanahan's eyes if he does play against the Houston Texans, because the game plan that Kyle Shanahan calls will be reflective of what the coaching staff thinks of Trey Lance. When Trey first came, or what they think of his development, let's be fair here. I want to keep this, right down the middle. The 49ers think the world of Trey Lance and his potential into the future, but what do they think of him now? And what they think of him now is more pressing because we're talking about the 49ers 2021 playoff hopes. So what they think of him now as far as where he is on that course of development, that's going to be reflected in Shanahan's play calling if Lance does indeed start on Sunday. And that's why I think these Fred Warner comments are so promising, because it seems that at least at practice, Trey Lance has taken that next step in his development. Now we'll see if he can carry it over to a game, because adrenaline's different in a game. And when live bullets start flying, typically in any sport, in any situation in life, you revert back to what makes you most comfortable. So Lance ran a lot at North Dakota State. Maybe he'll take off. He ran a lot against the Cardinals. Maybe he'll take off out of the pocket again. But this is where the scouting report on Trey Lance comes in. This is not a guy that was exclusively a runner in college. The 49ers love Trey Lance coming out of North Dakota State because of the usage rates. They like the fact that he ran a ton of play action, that he was able to make the right decisions from the pocket at North Dakota State. You talk to Randy Hedberg, who's Lance's quarterbacks coach in college, and he developed Carson Wentz there, same school, and Easton Stick, same school. And there was a heavy, heavy emphasis on getting these quarterbacks ready for pro-style play. So Lance, despite the fact that he's relatively inexperienced and played at a lower level of college football, was who I thought the 49ers would pick because of the potential that he showed in that limited time, delivering from the pocket in college. So I absolutely think it's possible to get Trey Lance to the point where he's going to be a great pocket passer and also a running quarterback, to the point of this guy right here, this madman running without a helmet. This guy was able to marry both of those concepts together. Pocket passing, using his legs when he needed to. John Elway, same thing. Pocket passing, using his legs when he needed to. Lance can escape the rush. That's huge, right? But you only want to use the legs when it's needed to escape the rush. You don't want to run unnecessarily. And that's the balance that you're trying to strike. And that's the balance that Kyle Shanahan thinks that he can find with Trey Lance. So Warner's comments are promising, but this is going to be a long process. The 49ers will ultimately run an offense tailored to Trey Lance's athleticism, but delivering from the pocket, again, is mandatory in the NFL. So it's not, one extreme or the other. On one extreme, you had the 49ers running an offense that was completely tailored to what Trey Lance's skill set was at the time in week 5. And then, you have at some point he's going to have to run what Shanahan is running with Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Neither of those two is true. The 49ers are going to need to, in their long term, if Trey Lance is going to be the future fixture they want him to be, they're going to need to find a happy spot in between those two extremes, in which Lance's skill set is accentuated, but Shanahan's rhythm-based play-action attack is still in place. That's how you get to your Steve Young, John Elway ideal. Not saying Trey Lance is going to become as great as either of those two players, but when you spend 3 first-round picks on a guy, you trade up in a win-now year, you take such a huge gamble, you obviously think that the ceiling is around there. So if you want Trey Lance to turn into a great player, or even a good player, he's going to have to operate within the framework of a pocket-based NFL offense, which Shanahan obviously has crafted, but he's also going to have to deliver the athleticism and escapability of his legs. So the offense is going to be a hybrid of both. Which one will we see on Sunday if Lance starts against the Texans? That is the question. Now back to the 49ers, strategic thinking, bigger thing. The 49ers need for short-term return on investment in Trey Lance. This is something that, maybe is an elephant in the room, but we need to start talking about how much the 49ers traded up for Trey Lance and how soon they need a return on investment and what kind of return on investment they need to justify the price that they paid. Because there absolutely was an opportunity cost, right? When the 49ers traded that kind of capital for Trey Lance back in March, they essentially decided to forego a chance to bolster either their secondary, their defensive line, their offensive line, or multiple of those positions with just how much they traded away to draft Trey Lance. So they were thinking about the future. Obviously, the future track is so extremely important in the whole calculus of everything here. If Trey Lance is your quarterback for the next 15 years and he guides you to 3 Super Bowls, you're okay with whatever you paid for him. But that, extreme is unlikely, right? It's more likely that Trey Lance will be a good quarterback for the 49ers for a few years. And then anything you get on top of that is house money. So when you make this trade as the 49ers, you need both a long-term return and, if you need it, a short-term return on the Trey Lance investment, because it's not like you traded all these picks away and you made this draft pick in a season in which you were expecting to go 2-14. No, the 49ers kept Jimmy Garoppolo, signed a bunch of one-year deals, and said, we want to win the Super Bowl this year. So you obviously had a short-term focus even when you picked Trey Lance. So that means that if Jimmy Garoppolo is ever unavailable or injury compromised in 2021, you better get something from Lance. And I think the 49ers already have gotten something from Lance, right? I thought that his play against the Arizona Cardinals was inspirational. I thought that the touchdown against the Packers at the end of the second quarter was huge in that game, although the 49ers defense couldn't hold the lead that they got at the very end. I think that, Jimmy Garoppolo generally was playing well this year. Really efficient football for the 49ers in the wins. The last game wasn't efficient, especially after he hurt his finger against the Tennessee Titans. He wasn't good against the Seahawks. I mean, it was an up and down year for Garoppolo, but especially when he was healthy, the 49ers were getting efficient play from him. They went on a run under Jimmy Garoppolo. Can you credit Trey Lance for some of that? I think so. I think that iron sharpens iron. I think strengthening the quarterback room might have given the 49ers a little bit of a boost. But at the end of the day, you need more than these myopic, he might be helping with the quarterback room competition. He delivered a play against the Packers in a loss. You need the quarterback to actually lead a win, especially if it gets to the point where your QB1 is hurt. And that might indeed be the case against the Houston Texans, because we know that Jimmy Garoppolo has a torn UCL in his thumb. So in that case, you got to get that short-term return on investment in Trey Lance. If you're not going to get it now, when are you going to get that short-term return on investment? I mean, even if he's not ready this year and he's ready in the future, you're still missing out on the short term, and you're still treating this season as a win at all costs early in the season. So in this situation, the 49ers, sorry guys, absolutely need Trey Lance to deliver because, again, the Texans are not good. So those are my thoughts on Trey Lance. Rewatch it if you want to. Subscribe. We'll talk to you all soon, and we'll find out if Jimmy Garoppolo is practicing today.